In a world that is becoming more contentious and where the EU is striving for a stronger global role, development policy is moving from a low salience, rather technocratic policy field more towards the fore of public political debates. For instance, we see that populist radical right parties are questioning the very fundaments of development policy. Perspectives on decolonization and critical debates on development are gaining prominence. The creation of the European Union Trust Fund towards Africa has been very controversially discussed in national parliaments and in the European Parliament. In this context, the objective of our special issue is to analyze and better understand whether this anecdotal evidence is part of a broader trend of politicization in European development policy. More specifically, we are interested in two main research questions. First, to what degree is European development policy politicized? And secondly, how can these politicization dynamics be understood in relation to broader trends within the EU's external relations and in relation to dynamics at the level of European partner countries?
We understand the politicization of European development policy as a three-dimensional process involving salience, polarization, and audience expansion. So salience refers to the attention and importance attributed to a specific issue. So here we analyze how frequently and how intensely European development policy is debated, for example, in parliaments or in the wider public. Polarization refers to the scope of political conflict over an issue, so actors may hold very similar or opposing views about European development policy, its objectives and instruments. And finally, audience expansion signifies that a growing number of actors are involved in these public debates about European development policy. The 10 articles of our special issue analyze these three dimensions of politicization in different arenas, such as the European Parliament or national parliaments. They also analyze the role of political parties, the media, or public opinion, and investigating politicization within individual European countries, but also with regard to the EU's policies towards certain regions, such as West Africa or the MENA region.
So the contributions in our special issue show that there are indeed many differentiated patterns of politicization in European development policy. There's sort of a patchwork of politicization with significant variation across the different dimensions of politicization with regard to the different arenas, and also across member states versus EU level. And this is particularly visible in the EU migration development nexus. For instance, the article on the Migration Trust Fund shows that there is high politicization in the Swedish and the Dutch parliaments, but very low politicization in Italy or Belgium or France, for instance. And several of our articles also illustrate the two key concepts of the special issue. First, horizontal politicization involving diffusion from one policy field to another. And again, on migration, political actors have capitalized on the perceived migration crisis and have used it to reframe and construct development policy in certain ways. And secondly, outside-in politicization. We show that European foreign policy can be politicized domestically within third countries, within the so-called beneficiary countries, and how this then feeds back into politicization dynamics in Europe. For example, one article illustrates how the European promotion of LGBTI norms in third countries in Africa, how this has significant influence on the politicization of European development policy back home.
Fragmented patterns of politicization suggest that there is more divergence rather than convergence of development policies of member states and the EU institutions. Development policy is a shared competence. If the EU wants to engage in global problem solving, collective action is required and very important. Fragmented patterns of politicization across member states and the EU institutions might make collective action more difficult. What this means for the future and whether the Team Europe approach that the European Commission has initiated can contribute towards more convergence in European development policy remains to be seen and remains to be researched.